Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast, part of the Fans First Sports Network. We're glad to bring in our guy, the great one and only Johnny Shop. Johnny, how are you?
I'm a little jet lagged, but I am good to go. This is the day the new year has come.
All right, good, man. We've got so much to talk about. I'm going to get more into the Chandler Jones issue at another date. And I promise all of our listeners are like, why aren't you talking about it? What's going on? Well, here is the deal. And this is the thing. When you say some, then everybody says you're carrying the water of the regime. I've talked to players, talked to people. I believe I've got a very good handle on it. And I think that the way Josh McDaniels handled it, saying, hey, this is a private, personal matter for Chandler, we're going to let him handle it, I think it's the very best way to do it. There's no reason to get into this. And I think you just let the whole thing play out for Chandler and you keep the focus on football. You know, if this was a player who had gone out and gotten drunk and drove drunk, that's a story. But this is a personal matter. We're going to leave it personal. I understand people don't like that. That's fine. They can say, I'm not saying what I want because the regime, that has nothing to do with it. I'm not saying it because I think there are some boundaries in journalism that people shouldn't cross. And I'm proud to work for a company that believes that way. And quite frankly, I'm proud of my other colleagues who are beat writers that are handling it appropriately. Nobody's trying to be the National Enquirer or TMZ. I'm proud of it. Later on, we will talk about it because it does affect the team. It does affect the team. And you and I are going to talk about that in a minute. But I don't think we need to get into the nitty gritty when it's nothing criminal. It's nothing like that. It's a personal matter for the player. And I think you got to give them that respect. John, you're a lawyer, but you're also a journalist. Do you think I'm wrong in how I'm handling it?
No, you really have a basic obligation to report what affects the team that is public knowledge. It's not just this or that piece of private knowledge that's not being reported. There's pretty much everything that goes on behind closed doors when a violation of team rules handled internally, and the business that is the Raiders and any of the other pro football teams, they have the right to do that. So this is really playing it straight up the middle. It's just in modern times, everybody's got a microphone, everybody's asking questions. Everybody outside the world of journalism maybe has different expectations. In reality, things have kind of run how they have for decades, and you don't know what's not being reported. There's good reasons for it not to be reported. In this case, I don't know what they are, but this is one of many cases around the league, and it won't be the last one this year. This is the basics of fair reporting. If it was something that happened in public and there was a crime, like you said, there you go. But if it's some off the field thing, and there could be a million different things, we've seen them across sports, different sports for years. Those things don't have to be reported unless the player comes out and says, hey.
Right. And, it's funny because, I have learned people criticize everything. I heard someone say one time, if somebody came up with a cure for cancer, someone's going to say they were just looking for accolades. And I get that. I understand if you don't want criticism, don't take my job as a public figure. I get all that. I have no problem with it. But I laugh because I talked about the players really respected Josh McDaniels for how he handled it. And man, I got blew up by people. The players hate him. They don't respect him. And I took a couple of the Twitter comments and texted them to a couple players. And one of them said, I guess I lied to you then, LOL. And, I get it. I understand it. But the point is players, they love Chandler. Management loves Chandler. They wouldn't have given him the deal they'd given him if they didn't. This is a sad situation that I hope to get resolved. I don't expect him to play this weekend. Obviously, when we're taping this, that's not public knowledge, but I don't think he's going to play this weekend. But at the end of the day, when the time comes, if there's something I can talk about, I will. But, I just think it's like Max Crosby said in the locker room the other day. It's in-house. We're handling it in house. It's good, and I think that's the best way to handle it. But I want to stay on the Chandler Jones because the National Football League is predicated on next man up, and next man up is going to be Malcolm Koonce, who is a player who has some experience. He's underproduced. Really like him. He's got a lot of talent. He flashes. I don't think this regime helped him last year. I think he should have got more reps. And I said it and reported it. He should have got more reps last year when Chandler Jones was not playing up to Chandler Jones' numbers. He didn't get them. So I think he's going to get next man up. I think he's going to be your starter. I don't think that's public yet at the time of taping. By the time we publish this, it might be, but I don't think it will be. But Tyree Wilson, the rookie, going to get a lot of reps. Listen, I wish this didn't happen because I love and care for Chandler Jones, the man. And I cover the Raiders, so I want to see them do well. I wish it didn't happen for them. But if it's going to happen, you got two young horses trying to giddy up. It's not like it's the end of the world for the Raiders. Your thoughts on this next man up?
That's really where my thoughts go, is the next man up. This is a professional opportunity for both. They know, they have a good idea that they're going to get some serious time here. What I would be looking for from them is steady. I would try to, and I'm sure they'll be coached not to come in too hot, overly excited, or not to come in scared to make a mistake. Come in looking to play steady, looking to play your best football when the clock is hitting zero at the end of the game. This is the nature of this business. This is a humongous professional opportunity for these two guys. And they should be, they don't need to be concerned that teams are maybe going to come at them and say, oh, there's the weak spot in the Raiders defense. What they need to do is focus on what they have to do and try to do it steady and consistent, one down at a time, one series at a time. If they do, let's see what the Raider defense can do to manage that kind of loss. If these guys come in and their heads are spinning, or they're pressing the gas too much and they spin out their tires, then you may have a problem. So I'm looking for one of those guys to play steady, be productive, and basically not be a liability out of the gate.
All right, so let's talk about Koonce because he's going to get the start. This is a guy been on the team a few years. He's got to produce. I'm gonna give you my opinion and answer. Then I want to hear from you. More pressure, Malcolm Koonce or Tyree Wilson, the 7th pick in the NFL draft? I think more on Koonce because listen, they just spent all this money to go pick Tyree, and they ain't paying him that kind of money, picking him where they picked him to sit the bench for long, young man. And you better let him know I'm here, I'm ready, I'm taking advantage. I think clearly, and I was on a national show with them asking me, who I thought the more pressure is. That's why it came on. I thought about that. To me, there's no pressure on Tyree. He missed a lot of camp getting healthy. He hasn't practiced and played a lot. Yeah, I know where he's picked, but I'm sorry. I don't think there's any pressure on him. I think all the pressure's on Koonce. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. And then again, that's part of the nature of the NFL. You've got a guy that's been in the NFL for a couple of years. The idea of the lights being too bright or the stage being too big, that doesn't apply to that guy. This is probably his time to rise, shine, and produce. He is going to be evaluated. He is going to be examined. And the truth is going to come out about him. And people are going to say, okay, that's who that guy is. There's way more pressure on him. The rookie has multiple things in his favor to kind of relax any pressure. And of course, the better organizations try to turn the screws up a little bit and really, I guess, try to demand as much out of rookies as they have out of veterans. That's what they're coaching to. The reality is the veteran, Koonce, is coming in there. This is his time. There's a lot more pressure on him, which is, again, why I hope he's getting good coaching and good thinking to just do his work, try to stay steady and consistent. If he does, maybe nobody even notices in a bad way that Jones is out.
All right, let's talk about Sean Payton. You and I have been very critical of him. I think we both respect him as a good coach, but we have been critical of him. And man, he's talking out loud. In an interview with Seth Wickersham, he talks about telling, Russell Wilson, you need to quit being a politician, kissing the babies. I'm just not a fan of Sean, but what do you think about, to me, he is desperately trying to lay the foundation for failure so it doesn't reflect on him. This is just me. Obviously, I think he's going to coach to win, but to me, I don't think he believes in what's going on there, and I think he's setting the stage to be able to say next year, yeah, I inherited this bad team, bad contracts, and all that. I just see him what the people on the Louisiana Bayou call crawfishing. To me, it's so genuine Payton. Protect myself, shield myself. Tell me where I'm wrong.
This is something else. We've been both ways on Sean Payton, which is fair. I think he did a really good job earlier in the offseason, probably intentionally putting the spotlight on him and taking it off all the rest of the Broncos, including Wilson, by saying, like, some of the coaching here last year was among the worst ever. That was probably good. This goes one of two ways. First of all, Payton has said publicly what I don't know that Russell Wilson would want to hear privately. And Payton has said publicly what some people way outside of the sport and inside of the sport see and evaluate. Is Russell Wilson's number 1, 2, or 3 priority football? I'm not sure that it is. And that's not a criticism of him in his life. That's just an evaluation of his quarterbacking skill. It does appear like he's doing a lot of things to set himself up for life after football. The problem is he's still in football, being paid like a starting quarterback in the NFL. This probably goes one of two ways, in my opinion. The one way is Wilson reacts to it, uses it as fire, and has one more great year playing quarterback. The other is it goes south really fast. And if it does, your theory about Payton setting himself up to buy himself some space and time, that probably plays out. I think he's probably right here. The problem is, why would you take that job in the first place if you thought what so many other people thought and saw, and now you come out and say it publicly? That is a remarkable thing to say for a coach in the year Y2K23. Money is good.
Words of Johnny Manziel, this is why he took the job.
Was that the only one? I cannot believe that. Does that guy need money that bad? Does he need that money that much more bad? He doesn't have a bunch of money saved for a better job? You're taking a guy who has the appearance that he's really focused on other things other than being the best quarterback he can be for the Broncos. This was surprising to me, and we're going to get a front row seat to see how it plays out right off the bat.
I cannot wait to get to Denver. I'm leaving in a little bit. I can't wait to get there. All right. Next, I want to talk about Parcells. Now, I had not seen this, and I love Parcells. Love him. Love him. I don't like him. I've had a lot of friends that played for him that loved him. So I'm huge Parcells. I remember one time sitting at dinner with Carl Banks, and maybe it was lunch, but him telling me all of his Parcells stories. You sent me a link to Parcells talking about things he said he couldn't talk about when his career was going on. We got to talk about this.
Well, I think there's so much good stuff at the 33rd team that if you're a super fan of the NFL, you got to get there and you're going to learn. And one of the things that struck me last week was seeing an article by Bill Parcells that's giving us something to watch when we watch these games in the NFL this weekend. Parcells is a tremendous student of the game, obviously. And there's a lot of stuff he seemed, understandably, to hold while he was still in the game. He's not in it anymore. So one of the things from this great article had to do with pass blocking. And Parcells at a young age, sitting down with John Sandusky, asking him, just one thing for us to pay attention to. Said, if you could tell your offensive lineman one thing about pass protection, what would it be? And he said, Sandusky didn't even wait a second. He said, get exactly in front of the guy. You don't set up off the side of your shoulder. You must be in a diametric center of the player when you take your pass set. That's a piece of technique that most of us don't know unless we played offensive line. And that is literally a piece of technique that we can use when we're watching this weekend to try to get a feel for if we're running or passing here. If the best technique for pass blocking is to get right in front of your guy, and you see somebody this weekend on the Raiders on another team that's off to the side or is not exactly in front of your guy, you have a piece of knowledge as to maybe what might be missing here. So this is just a piece of the genius that is Bill Parcells, who is all about fundamentals, all about execution, all about sharpening the sword. Sean Payton does fall from his tree. He's no Bill Parcells yet. But how about that one? The simplicity of that piece of pass protection, I found pretty interesting.
Carl Banks, I mentioned that lunch, and he was on my TV show that day as well. But Carl told me if you didn't like to be coached hard and simple, you wouldn't like Parcells. And he told me specifically about a story about Parcells, and he rips into a coach. Why are you making it so blankety blank difficult? It's football. And he talked about he wanted to coach you hard, but he also wanted to make it simple. I thought that was a brilliant mindset into Parcells.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just that piece of technique. It's like, oh, okay. And now I literally have something to watch or literally look on replay. Okay. Did this guy get exactly in front of the man as best he could? It's the fine line. And it's not easy to pass protect against the best players in the world. Maybe something to keep an eye out for our fans that are watching this week.
All right, John, I want to get to the Raiders game because I'm going to start putting your prediction every week in my prediction article. Raiders, Broncos, Mile High, Sunday. What's the score? Who's the winner?
I do like the Raiders in this one. And I think it's going to be one of those NFL sounding scores. And that's because of the extraordinary respect for the defense of the Broncos and for week one excitement, regardless of the situation that they may be in. It does look a little shaky in spots. We don't know for sure Jerry Jeudy's status, I think, until we see the game and see if he can play and what that would be. This is a long way of me saying that it's going to be 24-13 Raiders.
Holy Toledo. You understand how close in NFL games are, and you got the Raiders winning by 2 scores. Johnny Guitars' popularity is about to rise in Raider Nation. All right, let's go, Johnny. Let's just talk about a couple games. These are 4 intriguing games. You picked them.
Yes.
I'm a little shocked. Buffalo and the New York Jets. I want Buffalo to just go spank them. I'm tired of the Jets. I think they're overrated. I don't think they're anywhere close to a Super Bowl team. I think Aaron Rodgers' act is going to wear thin. I'm riding Buffalo train all day long.
I understand what you're saying. And what I tried to do, because it's the NFL, they're all big, they all matter. I tried to find the 4 most intriguing games
I'm
of
just
the week.
busting your balls that I got to start by talking about the New York Jets. Jets, Jets.
I see some hype pour here. You're going to pour on some more hype. This is going to set the stage for predictions I've got that we're going to get to at some point. I got the Jets winning this one. Week 1, Jets.
Dallas and the G-Men. Now, this game is in New York. And as you know, because we've done this, I think this is our 16th year now, Johnny. Isn't it 15th or 16th?
Yes.
16th, I believe.
Yep. Starting it. Yep.
And I remember you and I used to every Friday predict every college game and then some NFL and everything else. I have 10 sets of criteria I use on every game. I've got the Giants winning this game because it's in New York, which I automatically give, and one of my points is who's the home team. I like Dak. To me, though, Dallas just always finds a way to fail. I'm riding with the G-Men. I think they're better than people think. Your thoughts?
It's a Parcells connection here, isn't it? My thoughts are to kind of think the Parcells way, which is the team that can afford to lose the least is the team that's most likely to win in the NFL. For reasons to be revealed coming soon, I think the Giants are going to win this one and open up atop the East.
Now we go to SoFi Stadium, Allegiant Stadium South, because every time the Raiders play there, they own the crowd. Miami with Tua comes into town. I am going to pick the Chargers. And even though I'm not a fan of their coach, I'm a huge fan of their team. If Sean Payton had gone there, that to me would have been a much better marriage for him than Denver. I'm going to pick the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Bolts. If it were at home, I'd be going with Miami, but I'm riding with the Bolts at home. Your thoughts?
I think this game really, really matters for the Chargers. I think it's game not as much of a must win as the one we're going to talk about next, but I think they have got to have this one. The Chargers have to win this one. If they lose this one, that's really a bad sign. We don't know about the health of Tua. And there were a couple rumblings in the off season and during camp about maybe just how bizarre Mike McDaniel is. The Chargers have to win this one. The Chargers are going to win this one.
Last one, Johnny. The Green Bay Packers taking on the Chicago Bears. Now, you remember this. I loved Justin Fields when he was a recruit coming out of high school. I remember at Big Ten Media Days, I just got to spend some time with I really like Justin Fields as a player, as a person. I think Green Bay is better without Aaron Rodgers. I think Green Bay is going to win the NFC Norris division. Look it up, kids, on Google. I'm not going to ride with the Lions. Having been born in Michigan, they've broken my heart for 50 some years. I have no faith in them. And because you lived in Michigan, even though you weren't born there, everybody in Michigan loves the lovable losers. They all love the Lions. And one of the reasons the Lions sell out every game and they make so much money is because the fans go, and I literally remember this story. I am in the press box, front row, covering the Lions game. A fan turns around and says to me, "Hey, Hondo, that's how they're going to lose." And they're up like 17-3, or they're up, 21-6. Third quarter. And I'm like, man, you have no faith, do you? And then as they started to lose, the fans applauded them. They're like, okay, we expected it. There was no hope. I think Green Bay goes to Chicago. And this is a tough one for me, but I think Green Bay's better. I feel bad for Justin. So much talent. You switched him in Love, and I think Green Bay would be a big-time contender. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers.
Well, you could start by calling me biased because I'm in Atlanta where Justin Fields is from, but put that aside. Put that aside that, he had a wild college ride. This is a must win for the Bears. Wait a second. Yeah. If you can't get them now, Bears, if you can't get them now, when are you going to get them? I'm in on Fields. The Bears are going to win this one. They have to. This is a must win in week one. Yes, in week one. If you can't beat the Packers at home in week one with Jordan Love that's got practically no experience, you're in deep trouble. That's not the scene in Chicago. The wagons are circling. The Bears will win.
All right. Now I'm going to tell you, I'm in agreement. I mean, I'm not in agreement. I think Green Bay's going to win it, but I like to look at games. Who needs it more? Chicago needs this game a lot more than the Pack do.
Absolutely.
I've given my predictions. I want yours. I want you to tell me who's winning, who's going to a Super Bowl. Give me Johnny as we get ready to kick off the season. Here we go, baby. Give it to us.
It's all here. It's all here. And there are a couple of really important things to point out that I'll point out when I get there. I'm going to start in the AFC conference. These are the winners I've got. The Jets, the Ravens, the Jaguars, and the Chiefs. These are the wild cards I've got. The Steelers, Chargers, Bills, Patriots. Oh, I'm sorry. The Steelers, Chargers, Bills. Sorry. Now,
all right.
That leaves some people out. That leaves Tennessee out. That leaves New England out. I've got the Bills winning the AFC conference. The NFC, any questions or thoughts about that? And now I don't know how it all comes together. Obviously, most of it comes together at the very end. Jets, Ravens, Jaguars, coming out of it. Yes, the Bills lose in week 1, become a wild card, get to the Super Bowl. Ready for the NFC.
All right. I don't think the Chargers get it, but okay.
The NFC is going to get wild, and there is a scheduling quirk. There's no quirk. Somebody did some things with the schedule. I've seen them. Some of you probably know about them. If you don't, you're going to find out about them now. The Eagles, the Vikings, the Saints, and the 49ers win the division. The Seahawks, Cowboys, and the Washington football team playoffs. Biased? Not necessarily. Maybe, but not necessarily. Here's why I say that. I had to look at this like 3 times. Hondo, did you know that the Giants and Eagles will play in 2 of the 3 final weeks of the season? Did you also know that the Lions and Vikings will play in 2 of the 3 final weeks of the season? Those are not scheduling quirks. Somebody was doing some work there. Advantage for the, basically disadvantage for the Giants, advantage for the Minnesota Vikings. Eagles, Vikings, Saints, 49ers, the wild card, Seahawks, Cowboys, Washington, NFC champion, Eagles, Super Bowl champion, Buffalo Bills.
All right. So Super Bowl, I want to hear this again because I'm a little shocked.
I think it's the Bills' turn.
All right. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think it's how it was going to handle. I think that's awesome. All right, John. Now I got to tease you about something. I was texting there while you were talking. You just said something that took me back 34 years. My senior year, 35 years, my senior year of high school, government. My teacher's name was Mr. Elger, Mr. Bryce Elger. And when you got ready to talk and you go, it's all right here. Okay. And you held up your little thing. Final exam. Okay. Final exam. I'm doing my final exam. I answer the question. I get my final exam back and he failed me on one question. One question from 100%. I walked up and I said, this answer is correct. He said, yes, it is. But the answer I was looking for is up here.
That is well, maybe that's what was thinking. Maybe that's what somebody was thinking when they put the Eagles and Giants 2 of the last 3 weeks and the Lions and Vikings 2 of the last 3 weeks. There's a franchise or 2 in there that feels like they've got the screws turned on them a little bit, because they probably do. That is weird.
All right. I appreciate you, Johnny. We're going to talk real quick. Talk to you soon, buddy. All right. From Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders Insider, part of the Fans First Sports Network. This is Hondo Carpenter and Johnny Shop. Thanks for listening to us, everybody. We'll see you next week.